He never realized her worth until she walked away. The laughter, the care, the loyalty, all the little things he took for granted vanished in silence. She wasn't just a woman who loved him. She was a force that shaped him, believed in him, and stood by him, even when he didn't deserve it. And now that she's gone, regret hits harder than any pride, any excuse, any moment of denial ever could. This is how a man truly reacts when he loses a woman who loved him with her whole heart. At first, he pretends he's fine. He laughs louder, posts online, moves on. But deep inside, the silence is deafening. He notices her absence in every quiet moment, every empty space, every memory that floods his mind. Her patience, her loyalty, her belief in him. It was rare, it was precious, and now it's gone. He begins to replay every choice, every mistake, every excuse he ever made. And in the quiet, he understands some love cannot be replaced, and some lessons can only be learned after it's gone. Regret hits after loss, and it hits hard. A man often doesn't fully understand the depth of a woman's love while he has it. He might take her for granted, assuming she'll always be there, that her patience is endless, and that her loyalty comes without effort. He sees the comfort, the consistency, the support, and sometimes mistakes it for granted. He sees her sacrifices and her willingness to stand by him through storms, and yet he overlooks them, believing there will always be another day to show appreciation, another opportunity to reciprocate her care. It's only when she leaves that the weight of her absence becomes undeniable, that the reality of her impact sinks in with the clarity that only loss can bring. When she's gone, silence becomes loud. The empty space in his life echoes with the conversations they used to have, the laughter they shared, the quiet moments when she just knew what he needed without him having to say a word. He starts to notice the little things he ignored before, the way she remembered his favorite coffee, the way she checked in on him after a rough day, the way she believed in his potential when he doubted himself. These weren't just gestures, they were expressions of love, investments in his happiness, and now, in her absence, he realizes how rare and precious they were. He feels the emptiness she left behind, a hole that no one else seems able to fill, and it stirs a mix of guilt and longing he hadn't experienced before. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly like a quiet shadow that grows until it can't be ignored. At first, he might try to fill the void with distractions, work, friends, or new experiences, but nothing replaces the unique presence of a woman who truly loved him. Every interaction with someone new reminds him of what he lost. Her patience, her unwavering support, her ability to challenge him and yet remain his anchor, all of it becomes starkly visible against the backdrop of her absence. He starts replaying moments in his mind, wondering if he could have been more attentive, more loving, more understanding. He recognizes now that the fights and disagreements that seemed insignificant at the time were opportunities to show respect and care, opportunities he missed. The hardest part of regret is the realization that some things cannot be undone. No apology, no promise, no sudden change can bring back the woman who walked away after giving her all. Loss teaches him lessons he might have ignored before, lessons about loyalty, patience, and the rare kind of love that demands both giving and receiving. He learns that true love isn't just about passion or attraction. It's about commitment, understanding, and unwavering support. When he loses her, he realizes that the value of her love was far beyond anything he had recognized. The regret that hits after such a loss is not just about missing her, it's about understanding that he has lost something truly irreplaceable, something that shaped him, comforted him, and helped him grow. It's a sobering, humbling experience, one that changes him forever. True love is irreplaceable, and anyone who has experienced it knows that no one else can step into its place. A woman who loves genuinely does more than simply offer affection. She invests herself wholly in the man she cares for. Her loyalty is not just about staying, it's about standing by him even when it's difficult. When circumstances are messy, when the world seems to be against him, she believes in him. At moments when he doubts himself, and she encourages him to become the best version of himself, often without expecting recognition or reward. That kind of love isn't transactional. It's profound, rare, and it cannot be duplicated by someone else, no matter how much they might try. There is a depth and sincerity in her devotion that can't be replicated, and once it's gone, its absence is felt in ways that are undeniable and unforgettable. Her patience is another facet of her irreplaceable love. She understands that nobody is perfect, that mistakes will be made, and that growth takes time. Instead of reacting with anger or judgment, she approaches challenges with understanding and grace. She knows when to push and when to hold back, when to advise and when to listen. This patience is not weakness, it's strength. It's strength. It allows a man to evolve without fear of immediate rejection or criticism. It's the kind of patience that teaches lessons subtly, that nurtures growth quietly, and that creates a safe space for love to flourish. Few people can embody such consistency, and fewer still can sustain it without faltering. When a woman with this kind of patience leaves, the void she leaves behind is not just emotional, it's structural. The rhythm she brought into a man's life, the sense of balance and stability, suddenly disappears, leaving him to face the harsh reality that what she gave cannot simply be replaced. Belief in him is perhaps the most powerful part of her irreplaceable love. She sees potential where he sees doubt, strength where he sees weakness, and possibilities where he sees obstacles. Her faith is not blind. It is informed, deliberate, and patient. She celebrates his victories, even small ones, and offers comfort during defeats, reminding him that failure does not define his worth. That belief inspires confidence, courage, and ambition in a man. It gives him a sense of being seen and valued in ways that no superficial attention or fleeting admiration can replicate. When this kind of belief is lost, a man feels it immediately. He realizes that no one else can replicate the same unwavering support, the same encouragement that comes from a love rooted in commitment and genuine care. True love is a rare treasure because it intertwines loyalty, patience, and belief in ways that create not only a relationship, but also a foundation for personal growth. When it is lost, a man experiences an irreplaceable void, a sense that the woman he had was unlike anyone else in his life and will never be matched. It teaches him that love is not just about passion or attraction, it is about consistency, sacrifice, and unwavering faith in one another. That kind of love cannot be duplicated, and its absence is a reminder that some connections are truly one of a kind, meant to be cherished while they last, because once they are gone, they cannot be recreated. Loss teaches humility in a way that nothing else can. When a man loses a woman who genuinely cared for him, the lessons arrive with a clarity and weight that cannot be ignored. It doesn't happen immediately. At first, he might be angry, confused, or even in denial. He might blame circumstances, his own challenges, or even her. But over time, the reality sets in and it hits him where it matters most: his pride, his ego, and his heart. Humility doesn't arrive as a gentle whisper. It comes as a quiet, persistent echo of all the moments he failed to appreciate her. Each memory, each missed opportunity, and each instance where he took her love for granted becomes a mirror reflecting his mistakes. And it's in facing that mirror, in recognizing the truth, that humility begins to grow. A woman who truly cares gives without expecting perfection in return, but she also shows the cost of neglect. She invests herself emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even spiritually in the relationship. When she leaves, the man realizes that he lost not just a partner, but a teacher, a guide, and a supporter who pushed him to be better in ways he might not have noticed while she was there. He begins to understand that love isn't a prize to be won through charm or words alone. It's a responsibility that requires attentiveness, respect, and patience. The inch of that love forces him to confront his shortcomings, to reflect on the selfish choices, the careless words, the moments when he prioritized himself over her. Loss becomes the catalyst for introspection, and humility is the first lesson he learns from it. Humility is uncomfortable because it demands honesty. It requires him to stop making excuses and start acknowledging his role in the relationships, and no amount of external distraction, success, friends, or new relationships can replace this realization. He begins to understand that real love was not something he could control or manipulate. It required participation, commitment, and sacrifice. And when he failed to give that in equal measure, he lost something irreplaceable. The humbling truth is that he cannot undo what has been done, and no amount of regret can immediately restore what was lost. He is left with a clearer vision of who he was, who he is, and who he needs to become. Through this process, a man begins to appreciate that humility is not weakness, it is growth. It is the understanding that love is bigger than ego, bigger than pride, and sometimes bigger than life's timing. Losing a woman who genuinely cared forces him to confront his imperfections, reflect on his mistakes, and acknowledge that love requires more than intention. It requires action. Humility becomes the seed for change, the foundation on weight. If he can build a better version of himself, and while the loss may never fully heal, the lesson it leaves behind is invaluable. A humbled man is a man who finally understands the depth of what he once had and carries that understanding forward in all his relationships. Growth versus blame is one of the most defining moments a man faces after losing a woman who truly loved him. When a relationship ends, especially with someone who gave her heart fully, a man reaches a crossroads. One path leads to growth, self-reflection, and understanding. The other path leads to bitterness, excuses, and misplaced anger. A mature man recognizes that the responsibility for his actions, his words, and his choices lies with him. He does not externalize the pain or look for someone to blame. Instead, he turns inward, examining what he could have done differently, how he could have been more attentive, more loving, more patient. Growth demands honesty, courage, and humility, and it is never easy. But it is the only path that allows him to learn from the loss and ensure that he does not repeat the same mistakes in the future. An immature man, on the other hand, chooses the path of blame. He focuses on what she did wrong, what she failed to give, or what he perceives as her shortcomings. He tells himself stories to justify his own lack of effort, his negligence, or his inability to recognize her low, while it was present. He avoids introspection because it is uncomfortable, and instead he surrounds himself with excuses and deflections. In doing so, he misses the most important lesson the loss could have taught, and he overlooks the truth that the relationship's end was not solely about her or her decisions. It was about the combination of both their actions and inactions. By blaming her, he fails to see the opportunities for personal growth, and he carries the same mistakes into future relationships, leaving a trail of unresolved pain behind him. Growth is transformative because it reshapes a man from the inside out. When he chooses to learn, he begins to understand that love is not simply about passion or attraction. It's about commitment, understanding, communication, and accountability. He realizes that losing someone who genuinely loved him was a reflection of the areas where he fell short, not a condemnation of his worth. The humbling awareness that he could have done better ignites change. He becomes more patient, more attentive, and more emotionally intelligent. He starts valuing love not as a convenience or a right, but as a privilege and a responsibility. Growth turns regret into lessons, mistakes into wisdom, and loss into the foundation for a stronger, more complete version of himself. Blame, however, robs a man of perspective. It traps him in the past, holding him hostage to resentment and bitterness. It convinces him that the ending was someone else's fault. And in that conviction, he loses the chance to evolve. Blame keeps him repeating patterns, attracting similar heartbreaks, and misunderstanding the true meaning of love. It prevents him from appreciating the rarity of a woman who loved him with patience, loyalty, and belief. By failing to reflect, he not only loses her, but also forfeits the lessons she offered through her love. Ultimately, the difference between growth and blame is the difference between a man who becomes stronger, wiser, and capable of true love, and a man who remains stuck, bitter, and unable to recognize what real love looks like. Losing a woman who genuinely cared is painful, but how a man responds defines not only his future relationships, but the man he becomes. Growth transforms loss into power, while blame keeps him powerless and blind to the lessons life has given him. In the end, losing a woman who truly loved a man is more than just heartbreak. It's a life lesson. It teaches regret, showing him the value of what he took for granted. It reveals the irreplaceable nature of genuine love, a combination of loyalty, patience, and unwavering belief. that cannot be duplicated. It humbles him, forcing him to face his mistakes and confront not the ways he fell short, and it challenges him to choose growth over blame, to learn from the loss instead of pointing fingers, to become the man capable of appreciating love when it arrives again. A woman who truly loves leaves a mark that no one else can replace, and losing her transforms a man's heart, mind, and character forever. The question is not whether he feels the loss, it's whether he allows it to make him better. True growth comes when regret turns into reflection, and reflection turns into change.